Hello and welcome to the final South Coast end zone of the season. I'm Tim Weisberg.
I'm Laurie Los,
I'm Buddy Thomas.
also known as the Turkey.
The Turkey.
And we are here to talk with you about the final week of South Coast High School football, and it will be the final week because there's nobody moving on. And so now it comes down to the Thanksgiving games. One game means two games mean something, and the rest are kind of just for pride. But that's all right because they're still going to be great traditional rivalries. So.
Well, actually, 3 games mean something. We have a Voc Tech going for the vocational berth. So
They think
Yeah.
they think they're in the running. Believe they're in the running.
Yes.
You have to figure it out. They have to figure out the points and all that stuff, just like the MIAA does with their playoffs. But they think they're in good shape.
Yeah.
So I didn't ask you this beforehand, Laurie, but do we have a first and goal for this week, or?
We don't.
All right, good.
No first and goal this week because Buddy's here.
So
I figured that extra time
that's
would
all
be
the
for Buddy to talk.
Punting situation.
Fourth and long. That's what this will be. We just want to remind everybody, when you're out at the Thanksgiving Day games, if you want to follow along with us on Twitter, you can do so at SC_varsity. And please tweet us from wherever you are. Send us pictures. Let us know what you're doing to get ready for the game in the morning. Whatever you want to send out to us, we will gladly retweet it, provided it's family friendly. It's a family holiday, so we have to be family friendly. And you can also follow us on Vine at South Coast Varsity, on Facebook, southcoastvarsity.com. Am I missing one? I feel like I'm missing one. Twitter,
No.
Vine, Facebook.
Read us in the paper?
Because you still haven't done the Instagram, so there's
Nope,
that.
no Instagram.
Next season.
Next season, yes.
By basketball season, maybe.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get right into the action. Our first game is actually on Thanksgiving Eve, which, that's the good part about that is you don't have to wait through the entire game to have the turkey. So they can get up, they can watch the Macy's Day Parade and have their meal. They don't have to wait for the game to be over. But, it is going to be on Wednesday night, so there'll be a lot of people traveling, I think, too, which will be part of the issue.
Yeah.
And also, it's a Tri-County Tech.
Well, it's actually at Bellingham, so Old
It's a
Colony
neutral site.
Yeah, neutral site. Old Colony is playing Tri-County Tech at Bellingham, which is closer to...
I was going to say, I'm doing the math in my head, it's a lot closer to Tri-County.
Yeah.
Well, it's Tri-County's home game, and Tri-County does not have lights. So Bellingham allowed them to use the field.
Yep.
Bellingham.
It's for the Kruger Cup, so it's always an exciting game, I know. Last year, Old Colony won. I can't remember the exact score, but... I know they're excited. No, I'm not asking you, buddy, because I know you're not going to remember it. But I feel like Old Colony, they've kind of had a tough go, the last 3 or 4 weeks, and getting a win over Tri County would be a good way to finish a season that had some bright spots in it.
Right. And Bellingham's not that far from Rochester. I mean, it's probably about 35-40 minutes.
Yep, up 495.
So they should be able to have a nice big crowd there.
And I heard the secret is you find the parking lot okay, but once you get in the parking lot, you have to look for the football field. It's way in the background, and with it being a night game, I guess you just look for the
lights,
bright skies.
That might help, but excuse me. It's also there's a lot of shopping centers up there too. So if you walk too far, you're gonna end up at the Whole Foods.
All right. Black Friday early shopping? Or would it be Wednesday?
Maybe. I don't know if there are any deals going on yet. If there are, we'll find them. So that'll be Old Colony versus Tri-County Tech. And, really, what do we know about Tri-County?
They're bad. Record-wise, they're bad.
Yeah.
Same as Old Colony, record-wise.
Yep.
We don't really know much about them. They both play in the Mayflower League. One of them's in the large division, which is Tri-County. The other one's in the small division, which is Old Colony. So there you go. I mean, they've both been blown out by teams from the Mayflower League. So
I think it could go really either way.
Yeah, it could. I have my pick ready to expose.
Yeah. Well, I know Jake Pringle's had a strong season. I mean, I'm expecting him to have another big game.
He's thrown 19 touchdown passes, and with one more, he can become the first area quarterback to throw 20 touchdowns in a season since we began keeping records in 1974.
Yeah.
So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. And he gets his top receiver back this week, Cole Bernier, who missed last week with a shoulder injury. And Bernier has caught 5 of his touchdown passes this year. So look for him to maybe get 2 this year.
All right, so we're going to reveal the picks.
At the same time or what?
At the same time, so there's no question. Okay,
all right,
here we go.
1, 2, 3.
All right.
The same? Different?
Both going with
There we
Old
go.
Colony.
Colony.
Old
Old
Colony.
Colony.
Wow.
There you go.
All right. That's
Nice.
All right. The visual aids, I love it. All right, now we can get into the Turkey Day action. We'll start off with the first game, Diamond Voc at Greater New Bedford Voc Tech at 10 a.m. And as you said at the beginning of the show, Voc Tech needs to win this game to keep their vocational tournament dreams alive. What do you think?
I mean, from what I've heard about Diamond, it should be a fairly competitive game.
They're pretty good, Diamond.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I mean, they've had kind of, not to say an up and down season, but they've had some streaks where they've been playing really well, and they've had a couple of streaks where they haven't been playing as well. But their quarterback, Austin Crowninshield, he's the one that directs the offense. Their top running back is Johnny Padilla. Yeah, Padilla. So a lot of those two guys, that's where the focal of the offense is. Which, when you look at Voc, I mean, Sean Aldridge and Nick Richard, for the most part, they do just about everything on offense besides Dimitri Woodbury. So I think it's going to be kind of, not to say similar offenses, but they have equal weapons. As far as it's not like one team has a ton of superstar running backs and the other team doesn't.
Well, the last 2 years these teams have played, the 4 points has been the margin of victory. Combined 4 points.
Wow.
It was 7-6. Voc won 2 years ago, and last year they won 10-7 in overtime. So Diamond is well, I think they're very good. They're very good on their level. The SouthCoast Conference was not a particularly strong league. You had the two teams at the top, and maybe Dighton Rehoboth was okay, and after that it was questionable. Voc was just a notch below Dighton Rehoboth, I would say. And Dighton Rehoboth, Diamond finished 7-3. So I think that they have a chance to be in the running for the vocational tournament also. So it could come down to the winner of this game will go to the vocational tournament.
Yeah.
So they've always played well, but it's on turf, back at Voc, and I really look for Sean Aldridge to have a real big day, because I know he's the workhorse, and he's either at 1,000 yards this season or he's just under 1,000. So they're going to work him, and we'll see.
And Buddy will be at the game in a nice warm press box, drinking hot chocolate. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, drinking something.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
All right, are we ready to reveal our picks for this
Ready.
game? All right, 1, 2, 3.
Voc Tech.
What? I think we have a case of homerism going on here.
What?
We'll
Well,
see
you
what
have to
happens.
Wait till we
you
get to
know.
the next game.
You have to understand this is close, and I apologize to all of Laurie's legion of followers for giving them false hopes that she would win
Well, Buddy
this
said
year.
said that the year he beats me, he's gonna officially retire for good. So
Yes.
I didn't want it to happen yet. So that's why I let him catch me.
What are you, the Celtics?
and then,
You're tanking?
And then surpass me by one game.
Yeah,
so.
you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, our next game is Wareham at Bourne, 10 a.m. Oh, another Thanksgiving in the pit for Tim.
Yep, Tim, you're gonna have a good old time.
That's
huh?
good. I'll make sure that I can't be in the press box because there's a ladder to get up there, and I can't get up and down the ladder fast enough with all the. That's where all the cheerleaders and all the band kids huddle underneath. So, it's either go up there and you're up there to stay, or stay down and at least you can move around and get the scene. So, I will avoid the press box there. But hot chocolate, maybe that's a different story. What do we think about this one? Wareham needs a win.
Yeah, it's been a long season for the Vikings. There's a lot of young kids on that team. Nate Moore's kind of been the one real bright spot for them. He leads the team in touchdowns. Well, I think it's 4 touchdowns he's got this year.
Only 3 offensively.
Yeah, 3 offensively. And I know, Tim, I know you talked to Dan Nault the other night, and he was just saying, at this point, we just want to get kids in there. We just want to get experience.
Right.
I don't really think they're going into this game thinking much about, okay, a win or a loss. Let's just get the experience. Flip side, Bourne is not very good either.
No.
Bourne, I think 2 of their 3 wins came against Case, which that's the only team Wareham beat. So, this is a game that Wareham, should have a shot in. But then again, if Nault's playing a lot of his younger kids just to get them experience, maybe it might not be, that competitive. Who knows? What do you think, Bud?
Well, I mean, they have been outscored. Wareham has been outscored this year, 392-90.
Yeah.
And I went down to Bourne as a spectator on a rare night off to watch them play Volk, and Bourne took the opening kickoff and just marched right down the field and went through them like a hot knife through butter. That's
Yeah.
it. I almost said the opposite. And so they can move the ball, and they moved the ball well the second time they had the ball, and then Volk figured them out.
Yeah.
I just don't think Wareham, because of their inexperience, is capable of stopping anybody. And I don't think this one will be close. I think Bourne will win big.
Hopefully that single wing will be the turkey wing.
Yeah.
And they'll come out with some offensive hiccups here. But what do we got here? Both Bourne? Oh, man. I know that the Bourne PA announcer would love that.
Yes.
I cannot wait to listen to him all day. I'm going to have to Vine that because I always talk about it, and people never go down there, so they don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to try to Vine from that game so you can hear what I'm talking about. All right, that is Wareham at Bourne at 10 a.m. Excuse me. Our next game is Bishop Fien at Bishop Stang, 10 a.m. And, we always say that Bishop Fien is a strong team, but this year they've shown some chinks in the armor, and then they've been beatable. And Stang's been a team that has been able to compete with a lot of teams. Sometimes they fell short, but at least they've been in the mix.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bishop Fien, it has been a down year. They're only 4-5 overall, 2-2 in the conference. They really, it was down to Bishop Stang and Martha's Vineyard, not Martha's Vineyard, Bishop Stang and Somerset Berkeley for the conference title, which was already determined a few weeks, about a month ago. And Bishop Stang, I think, shocked a lot of people when they went to Bishop Fien and won 14-7. But for Spartan Village, they opened the season 4-2, and they've lost their last last four. So it's been a little bit of a kind of a tale of two seasons. They started off the season strong, and then they haven't done so well. It all started with the loss of Somerset Berkeley, and then playing all these playoff teams, and in the tournament, they're supposed to be equally matched, but I don't really feel like maybe because of how well they did, beginning of the season, they were pitted against some teams that maybe were kind of out of their league. But Matt Golden's kind of been the star all year. He's developing into a really strong quarterback, and Jared Zanuski, who just signed a letter of intent for lacrosse for UMass Lowell earlier this week.
Congratulations.
Yep. He's been one of their kind of their workhorses, on offense. But it should be good, especially for the rivalry. I'm glad they, I know they kind of renewed it. What was it, last year, or the year before, on Thanksgiving, and it's nice to see them continue to have it, even though they play Fien earlier in the season. So.
Well, Stang's earlier success was primarily because of the defense. The defense played exceptionally well, but they've been racked for like 138 points in the last 4 games. So, again, the competition has been a little tougher with the playoff format. But I don't know how much. I don't know how seriously banged up they are. If they've taken a beat in the last 4 weeks. And Fien has won something like 3 of their last 4 games. So I think the momentum has shifted to Fien. So, but having beaten Fien once, you got to give them some sort of confidence, especially when you win up there in Attleboro. That's on
deal.
turf too. That's tough. That's tough to win. Fien, if they were playing down in the gym, football on the gym floor, it's tough to win out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's see.
All right, well, let's see what the picks are for this
Alright.
one. All right, we have our first
one.
disagreement here.
All right.
See the winner?
Yeah, you got the winner.
Yeah.
All right, Bishop Fien at Bishop Stang, 10 a.m. on Saturday. Our next game is Saturday, on Thanksgiving, Thursday. Our next game is Dartmouth at Fairhaven, also at 10 a.m. And Fairhaven is another team that's really had trouble with this playoff format.
Yeah, I mean, they faced a lot of tough competition the last few weeks, and I know it seemed like going into the non-playoff schedule, they were kind of, even though they had lost to Dighton Rehoboth, they had won, I think 3 in a row prior to that, and things were starting to turn for them. Cam Costa, really had been coming into his own. Cross Nagalia started getting into the action on offense, with a couple of rushing touchdowns, and then, the playoff format, some of the teams that they were playing, I mean, they're just, it shows you where where the conference is compared to some of the other conferences. Just, and I think all but one of their games was on the road for the non-playoff schedule. And sometimes when you're going to Norwell, or where did they go last week? Last week was Norwell.
I know they were at Archbishop Williams one week.
Yeah, so I mean, the fans don't travel that far. It makes it a little bit tough. Unlike when we have a normal season. When we used to have the normal season, and they'd be playing close by. Somewhere where it's more manageable. But it's kind of been a downslide for them ever since really that Dayton Rehoboth game before the playoffs, and Dartmouth they came into the playoff. They were kind of sliding going into it. Lost to Bridgewater A&M, lost to New Bedford, lost to Barnstable, and then they beat Silver Lake. That was the first week, and then they've kind of lost the second week, and then this past week they got back on the winning side with the win over Dayton Rehoboth, and that was a dominant win, over Dayton Rehoboth, 35-6. But I mean, I think Dartmouth's biggest issue this year has just been injuries. It just seems like every week we're kind of figuring, all right, well, who's back, who's who can play, who's out, that kind of thing.
They have tremendous underclassmen, at least statistically speaking. They have 3 running backs that are really, really good. Made big impression. Alex Tisdale, Chris Martin, and Jack McCabe. 2 of them are sophomores, first 2, McCabe's a junior, and they've combined for 12 touchdowns. And again, they have far more depth than Fairhaven.
Yeah.
They have far more depth than Fairhaven every year. And the level of competition is like night and day. You're in the Old Colony League against the South Coast Conference. There's no comparison there. Yet, was it last year? Was it a close game when they played on Thanksgiving? 2-point game or something?
Last year was 14-7 Dartmouth.
What, the 7 point? Yeah, and the year before was kind of, I believe.
I think Fairhaven won the year before. Yeah, that was the big one.
So I mean, it's you never know. It's so-called throw the records out, that baloney. But I just don't see it this year. I just don't think. I don't think it'll be even close. But I said that 2 years ago, and.
Did you have to eat some meat too?
I ate.
Bulger?
Yeah, somebody said something. I ate it. Whatever it was.
All right. Well, let's see what the picks are for that game. Dartmouth big, Buddy says. Laurie just says Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, yes.
So.
I didn't know we were supposed to put big and small.
Well, it's up to you.
So that is Dartmouth at Fairhaven at 10 a.m. Our next game is at 10:15 a.m.
Ooh.
New Bedford has a chance to win the Big 3 championship if they can defeat Durfee in Fall River. And I got to think that there's a really good chance that they're going to do that.
Well, Durfee has lost 27 in a row. That'll tell you something. And since
I'm going out on a limb, folks.
Since their last win against Taunton, which was 12-7, which is their only win in 3 years, by the way. Since that last win, over the next 17 games, they've only played 2 close games, and they've both been against New Bedford on Thanksgiving Day game. One was a 2-point, that's the 2-point game I was thinking about 2 years ago. And last year it was close for 3 quarters until New Bedford opened it up at the end. I don't know how New Bedford allows them to make it close, and I don't think they will allow them to make it close this year. You're going to see that the night for people going to the game for the first time, you're going to see probably the 2 best wide receivers in the area, maybe in this end of the state, in Kevin Nunes and Mike Correa. They're both outstanding. Now, Durfee's trouble is finding someone to get the ball to Mike Correa. When they do, he scores a touchdown. Nunes has scored like 15 touchdowns, and I think 13 have come on via the pass, something like that. So I expect Nunes to have another big game, but after they jump out to an early lead, if they do, I would say after they do, Coach Golden will go to the running game, and they have 2 outstanding young running backs,
Hector
Diaz and Murray. I think they'll control it from that point on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember how many years straight it's been, but I always seem to go to the New Bedford Durfee game every Thanksgiving, and like Buddy said, not to throw out the records, but Durfee hasn't been good the last few years, and it seems like every Thanksgiving I'm sitting there at halftime like, this game is close. I can't believe how close this game is, and I think a lot of it has to do with that rivalry. I mean, this year, like we were saying before at the beginning of the show, this is one of those games that even though there's no playoffs after this, it's for the Big Three championship. New Bedford already beat Brockton. The Whalers are going to want to win the Big Three. And a few years ago, when there was the old playoff system to make the playoffs, New Bedford had to beat Durfee on Thanksgiving to win the Big Three. And so I think even though Durfee struggles, I feel like they play up on Thanksgiving.
Right. But if you're New Bedford, you don't want to have an upset victory over Brockton.
Yeah,
and then lose to Durfee when you really should have no business losing to Durfee. So.
Yeah, and I don't expect that New Bedford's going to lose to Durfee. I mean, it would, yeah.
So it sounds like I already know what the Cards are going to say.
Yeah.
New Bedford. He's saying big. What do you think? Are you going to say big?
Well, I was going to add the GER.
Bigger
than the last one, but.
Well, I think it'll be relatively close in the first half, and then New Bedford might. Blow it open the second. I think Durfee will give up a fight in the
I think Durfee has a good shot of winning the opening coin toss. That's it.
At least 50%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is New Bedford at Durfee, 10:15. It's our only game that isn't at 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving. Apponequet although I will say this, I've showed up at like 10 minutes of 10 sometimes for these games that are already going on Thanksgiving. So get there early, folks.
People are hungry. They want to
get
the game over with and go home.
Apponequet at Old Rochester, 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving. And this one is another big game, and it's going to be an awesome game, I would have to think.
This is where I'm going. Sorry, New Bedford. Sorry, Durfee. Maybe next year.
Yeah, she threw me out. She
what?
threw me out.
She squeezed you out.
I asked you, did you want to sit outside in the cold in Mattapoisett, or did you want to sit in the nice press box at Vogue?
Well,
you said Vogue.
Put it that way.
This game is going to be for the SouthCoast Conference Championship.
Yep.
With two of the best teams that we have in the area going head-to-head in the most anticipated matchup of the season.
Yep.
What's going to happen, Laurie?
It's going to be one of those classic games that we're going to talk about a couple years from now. At least that's how I feel. I mean, both teams have...
I won't, because I'll just forget.
Both teams have such potent offenses. I mean, Apponequet's got Wes Cohen, who, I think we have him at 17 or 18 touchdowns.
And you may have 19.
He may have 19. We're going to call Coach Lom. They got Matt Michael, who's got, 15 or 16 touchdowns. Troy Nealfeld has also, scored a bunch of touchdowns. Cam Costa, the quarterback, I mean, he's been brilliant all year just managing the offense, and he's also, scored a bunch of touchdowns. Old Rochester, Nolan Bergeron, I mean, this kid has probably, 10 passing touchdowns? 11 passing touchdowns, and
10 running touchdowns.
10 rushing touchdowns, and... He's not it. They also have Richie Phillips. They have Darian Dumont, who's been extremely impressive this year. I think he's at 9 rushing touchdowns, and he's only a sophomore. And a lot of what they've done without Colin Napton, who was out for about 4 or 5 games, and he just came back last week. He threw a touchdown pass, caught a touchdown pass. So adding him back into the offense is going to be huge. I mean, this kind of game, I almost feel like whichever team has the ball last is going to win. Or going to come down to, all right, which team turns over the ball. Whoever has more turnovers. I know Old Rochester in the loss to, the playoff loss last week, the turnovers were just like too costly. They couldn't overcome them, in that game, and that's how, they fell behind big, especially in the second half. So it's gonna be an exciting game. My fingers are gonna be frozen, but I'm gonna be trying to tweet as much as I can.
I just think if everyone's anticipating a shootout, and I think it probably will be a shootout, but comes to defense, I give Apponequet the edge on defense. They can stop the run better than Old Rochester can stop the run, I believe. If Old Rochester can force Apponequet to throw the ball, I don't know. It could go either way. But I've just seen Apponequet, they have well over 400 points. They may be, if they're not the leading scoring team in the state, they're like second or third. They just move the ball. They tell you, we're going to run, stop us, and
right.
very few teams have. And the reason they haven't been able to stop them is because you can't focus on one guy. They got 3 guys who can run. They can run up the middle, and they're fast enough to sweep around the ends. So it should be a fun game. And you know what the amazing thing is about Apponequet? They have punted, I believe, twice all year. They haven't punted like in their last 5 games. They don't punt.
They don't.
Yeah.
They just
That's
don't
their
punt.
thing. They just never do.
Now some coaches have complained in big games, you know, that one-sided games that they're trying to show them up by not punting on 4th down. You know, that's not their style. They just don't
They've
do
never
that.
done it.
Yeah.
They've never done that, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. And if Laurie manages to stay awake, she's going to see a good game.
Well, I know my box score is probably going to be this long
could
afterwards.
be.
It might take me all
Have fun
day.
adding up all those rushing yards. So here comes the big reveal
Oh,
here.
the big reveal.
This is the bigger surprise than what the secret ingredient is in the stuffing. Hey, look at that.
Hey.
Wow, so they're both handing the
So
Although this did take me, I would say, 30 to 40 minutes to finally
write
it out.
So
You
here's
need-
what
you
it
need
comes
help.
down to. It
Yeah.
comes down to. It comes down to the
It's only like 11
staying
letters.
fiend game between us.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It
Yeah,
absolutely
No
does.
pressure, Spartans, but come on, Spartan Village, let's go.
Now, it's staying, if you like, and I know she has a legion of followers at Spartan Village.
I do.
She does. And I get brutal out there. So, if you want to talk that team into winning, you can force us into a tie. We'll have to end the season on a tie. That means I won't completely retire, but I'll get that much closer.
Okay. All right. Come on, Stang.
And just real quickly before we go, I want to get each of your thoughts on this new playoff format and how you thought that the season shook out overall. Laurie, what'd you think?
I didn't like it. And it's not just because of how it impacts us, but I guess I like the fact that there will be a true state champion. You know, that is nice. But then at the same time, some of these teams that, you know, don't make the playoffs, just who they're put up against, I mean, really, it just isn't fair. You know, when you're looking at the different the different levels in the conferences and just, you know, I mean, some of the teams Wareham played, Fairhaven played, you know, once, you know, Stang was out of the playoffs, you know, it just seemed like maybe it showed more of how much weaker we are down here in the South Coast, but it just doesn't seem like they're playing against an even competition. And, you know, maybe that has something to do with the way that they're doing the weighted system of, you know, you get points for this, and maybe they need to adjust that. And I know the other issue that one of our local teams, New Bedford, had is every team is guaranteed a home game, and, you know, 2 teams in the Division I didn't have a home game, so last minute New Bedford's opponent got changed. So instead of playing Catholic Memorial at home, they, you know, which they thought Friday night when they finished their game, that's who they were going to play. Tuesday they found out that they were going to be traveling, I think it was to Weymouth, you know, and how do you prepare when it's Friday night and, you know, you're finding out Tuesday afternoon who you're going to be playing. So there's things that need to be changed in it. You know, overall, you know, they're doing it, you know, we got to, you know, stick with it. But for, I mean, us as a newspaper, it makes it tougher because we can't go out, you know, to Norwell. We can't go out to Abington. We can't go out to all these places that are that far away because we just don't have the manpower. So I feel like our coverage lacks because of, you know, so many teams hitting the road so far away.
Buddy, what'd you think?
Well, the argument among football people was that, you know, basketball, they have, you know, playoffs for everybody who qualifies, you know, and then you have on the way to a true state champion, that stuff. Yeah, but the difference is, in basketball, you go to the playoffs, you lose the game, the season's over. Now, in these playoffs, you lose the game, you go into a loser's bracket. Now, the loser's bracket, you could play, let's just take Old Colony, for example. I'm just pulling them out. If they're playing, if they're involved in the regular Super Bowl type playoffs early, and they get beat in the opening round, now they're thrown into the loser's bracket, and they're going to play another losing team at home, say a Norwell. There's going to be about 20 people at the game. People just don't go, and that's what the biggest complaint was. Who cares about the losers bracket down here?
Right.
Who's going to travel 40 miles to see a nothing game? Doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
And it's a
They took the meaning away from half the season.
It's a scheduling nightmare, from what I understand. I mean, nightmare in the sense that for that reason. They'd like to. I think they said that they'd like to get as close of competitive, as they could get, and it didn't work out that way. I heard more complaining than praising.
And I know for Old Colony, it's just coming back in my mind. I think Matt Trehan, the athletic director there, was saying, they had an upset win. I can't remember exactly who it was over this year. Was it Westbridge? No, was it West Bridgewater? There was somebody they beat that was an upset win, and that, he said, actually hurt them because it put them higher up in the non-playoff bracket than other teams who had beat them pretty handily were lower. So kind of sometimes like big wins for you during the early part of the season, if you don't end up having a strong team, end up to kind of bite you, when they do kind of put the formatting in and see where you stand.
That's the thing. The biggest plus and the biggest thrill in this area is still the Thanksgiving Day games, as it turns out this year. Because like you said, you got 3 teams with a chance for a championship anyway. And those places are going to be packed. You just wonder how it would have been if Old Rochester or Apponequet had won and had to go to the finals, the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Would they have rested people in the Thanksgiving Day game? You don't know, and that would have demeaned the Thanksgiving Day game, I think.
Right.
So but like Laurie said, it's here to stay unless a year or 2 from now, they have another vote and it's voted out. But I don't think so.
I mean, I'm just glad that we still have teams that are fighting for conference titles, even though. Conference title before.
Yeah, all it gets you is a banner, though.
Yeah, it gets you a banner, but at least, there's a lot of, pride that's on the line.
Right.
There's a lot there's still stuff to play for at this point in the season, and, it's just, not to say it stinks, but it's going to be a different feeling, for a lot of these kids, even if they do win the title, because the season's over still.
Yeah, it's still over.
So.
All right, well, let's run down the games one last time. Wednesday night, it'll be Old Colony versus Tri-County at Bellingham. 6 p.m. And then on Thanksgiving Day, we have Diamond Vogue at Greater New Bedford Vogue Tech, Wareham at Bourne, Bishop Feehan at Bishop Stang, Dartmouth at Fairhaven, New Bedford at Durfee, and Apponequet at Old Rochester. Those are all 10 a.m. games except for New Bedford at Durfee, which is 10:15, which gives you an extra 15 minutes to find a parking spot at Durfee, and you're going to need it. All right, well, that does it for this season.
Go Spartans!
And I guess I won't say that we'll see you under the lights unless you're going to the Old Colony game. But we will see you.
In the end zone. Or at the concession stand, right, buddy?
At the concession stand. And remember, you folks down at Old Rochester, Laurie picked Apponequet.
It was a hard choice, though.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.